All right. We are hopefully live. We're trying to make this go live to Instagram, so we'll see if that works. I think it's working.
It says live at the top, so we're live somewhere. We just don't know where.
Look at that. Someone somewhere should be able to see us. All right. Welcome to the Ultimate Book Club of Book Clubs. This began in 2020. At the height of the pandemic, I had a book coming out and no way to spend time with anyone. So we created the Book Club of Book Clubs, where I had people come and join virtually with their book club and other book clubs to talk about books. And it is so much fun that here, almost 5 years later, can you believe it's been 5 years, guys? Almost 5 years later, we're still doing it. Mm-hmm. So if you are joining us, pop into the comments. Tell us where you are joining us from. It's always fun to see. This has become a very international book club, which is really, really fun. So pop that in there. For the very, very first time, the Ultimate Book Club of Book Clubs is covering 2 different books by 2 different authors. We're teaming up. I have Sian Ann Bessey here. We're talking about our time travel books. So thank you, Sian, for coming and playing with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm feeling super privileged to be the first, aside author here.
That's right. We both had time travel books coming out within a month of each other, part of the same brand new sub line with Proper Romance. So it just made sense to join forces and do this together.
It's been fun to do this together.
Right. We're both just, I don't want to say risk takers enough, because I don't know that either of us are risk takers, but
no, I don't know if I'd go that far.
We're both willing to try something new. How's that? Yes. Open-minded.
Yes. Yes.
And here we are on this adventure together. As is usually the case on Book Club of Book Clubs, I will be giving prizes to the person who is tuning in from the closest to where this is being streamed from, and one who is tuning in from the furthest away. Usually it's the closest and farthest from me, but this time we're going to make it closest and farthest from Sian. So that's one reason why I ask you to put in the comments where you are tuning in from.
We already have Tokyo, Sarah. I don't know.
I know that may end up being our winner right there. I love it. We will post tomorrow the winners of all the prizes that we're giving away tonight. And because people sometimes tune in after the fact, especially if they're tuning in from overseas, we wait to draw those winners until tomorrow. But be watching. We'll post those to social media. And as you can see in the banner below, this book club is going to contain spoilers for both The Tides of Time and A Time Traveler's Masquerade. So if you haven't read them yet and don't want it spoiled, you can come back to this stream and watch it later. It's going to post after we're done. So there we go. So our prizes this time around for the person who's the closest and the person who's the farthest away is a little swag pack that I've put together. I have this bonus booklet that was given away at the Proper Romance soirees last month. I have copies of that, some fun little bookish stickers, and artwork that was also part of that soiree, one for Sian's book and one for mine. So that little swag pack will get popped into the mail and head out to the person tuning in from the closest and the person tuning in from the farthest. If we have 2 people from the same place who would win one of those, we will randomly select one of them. So most of this is done randomly to get us all off the hook on anything. So pop in there where you're coming in from. There are going to be prizes all night long, so feel free to join us. We will be drawing 2 prizes tomorrow that will just be from a random person who comments throughout this entire live stream. So keep commenting, keep popping your thoughts, your comments, your questions when we get to the Q&A part of this in the comments, because we'll choose winners from there. So down to business, guys, now that we've made it to this point. Like I said, we are covering 2 different books tonight. The Tides of Time and...
I love that I'm making you do all the work on this. I'm just sitting here watching you do
She's everything. Just like, I'm just here. These 2 books. Woo! So we're going to start by giving you just a quick summary of what they are in case you've read other books since then and you can't remember, or just a chance to kind of let you know what they are about. I'll start with mine. Tides of Time is about a woman from 1790s revolutionary France who is thrown through time by a magical storm on the sea to 1780s Victorian era England, and has to sort out how she got where she is, how to start a new life there, and when dangers come up that they aren't expecting, she and the man she's falling in love with have to figure out how to navigate it all. So time travel story, The Tides of Time. Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about yours?
All right, look at this. I will actually do my part and hold up the book. So Time Traveler's Masquerade is, it features Isla Crawford, who she lives in current day London, and she goes to Mrs. McQuivey's costume shop for actually a costume for a work event, tries on a Jacobean gown, comes out of the dressing room and finds herself in 1605 in Surrey, which is in southern England. And this is a critical time in British history. It's the time of Guy Fawkes and the Gunpowder Conspiracy. And she and the hero of the book have to figure out what they can do to prevent it from happening without changing the course of history.
Love it. Woohoo. So fun. I wanted to ask tonight while we're on here, what is something, Sean, in the researching of your book or the writing of it, or just diving into a new genre, what's something interesting or unexpected that happened as part of that? Kind of give us a little behind the scenes glimpse at something with this book.
Well, I think the thing that was the most surprising when I was researching this was, and we've already claimed that we're giving away spoilers, right?
Yes. Spoiler galore tonight, guys.
Spoilers galore. Okay. So the thing that I just could not believe happened was when I was reading the research. Sorry, I'm going to have to close my blinds because I now have stripes on my faces.
Speaking of the passage of time.
Was when I found out that historians still don't know who wrote the letter that was sent, that basically, warned those in government.
Gave it away.
And honestly, when I read that, I thought, I've just been handed my story right here. And that was my aha, all the bells ringing moment, because I thought, this is it. This is my in for the time traveler.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was probably my best part as far as the research.
Love that. We have a comment over on Instagram saying, Sean, the ending of your book, exclamation points. I was waiting for the door to open.
I actually have had a few people actually message me as they're getting close to the end of the book, and they will say, this better have a happy ending or I am never speaking to you again.
Right? I feel like both of our books really tiptoed toward that. Like, how in the world are they going to have a happy ending? How does this work out the way romance readers want this to work out?
And and that is definitely a challenge with a time slip, because you know that somebody, for them to be together, somebody has to leave their home environment. And very few people live in a bubble, and so that means they're also leaving other people that care about them. So,
everything and everyone that they knew, it has to be let go of by someone. That's such a challenge, and especially because in these books, the thing that your time traveler tends to be motivated by or trying to accomplish is getting back home.
Get back.
Yeah. And so if that is their goal and that's their motivation, that obviously has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other person has to decide to go, like, something in it has to change.
And how do you change? There has to be a change in what the priority is. So they either have to, the priority has to be love over getting home, or, there has to be some kind of switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, you guys, I'm so sorry. I don't actually have dots on my face. I don't know what to do about this.
It's this new strange disease that's affecting
It's
authors all
disease
over the
that
place.
happens when you travel in time. You get these blotches
Exactly.
all over your face.
This is the fallout of it, just so you
Trying
know.
to move the camera. Hang on, I'll move this way a little bit.
Keep adjusting. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. All right, Mara on Facebook says, I was afraid the male main character in Sean's book was going to die.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Sean.
Well, and you know that in some ways, though, that helped with the end of the book, because if he had not traveled back to the future, he would have died. And so it made it easier for me to separate him from his family, from Martha and the nephews, because because everybody knew if he stayed, he still wouldn't be with them because he wouldn't survive.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's kind of what you have to do, is make it so that that is the best decision for many reasons. If it's just because I love this person, you run the risk of it feeling like a disappointing decision. Even though you want the couple together, it kind of gets outweighed. So yeah, that's tough. A tough call. Something interesting about Tides of Time, and I can really only share this when I know the people listening have read the book, because this is a huge spoiler.
Yes, that's what I feel like I've just been giving out spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. When I first had the idea for this, I was actually with Sean and Tracy Abramson at La Conciergerie in Paris. I kind of had a vague idea of writing a time travel. I knew I wanted to write something set in the French Revolution, but we were standing in a room where they had covered the walls with the names of people who had been imprisoned there. Gave their name, kind of what their role was, either their title or their job, and then their ultimate fate, whether or not they were executed. And the walls are covered, and it's not big writing. So, I mean,
it's so overwhelming.
The overwhelming number of names. And I just walked around and around and around, and I came across a name, Elizabeth Monet, seamstress, executed. And I thought, seamstress, what in the world could a seamstress have done to warrant being charged with high treason and executed and murdered? And that is, I used that name. The main character in here is Elizabeth Monet. She goes by Lily, but Elizabeth, she is a seamstress. She is imprisoned in La Conciergerie and recorded in history as being executed. And that's what I wanted to do, was take her to make up a story, make up a history for this person whose name was on this wall. She was a seamstress. She was so unimportant that, there is no other documentation of her entire life in the whole world, except on that wall as someone who was executed. So I wanted to give her a story, a totally made up one, but it meant that I had a heroine who dies in the end. And how in the world can you do that with our romance?
It was so clever. So clever.
That became my big thing, was how do you make that happen? And it becomes a turning point in the book. She finds in a book her name showing that she was executed. And now she has to figure out what to do about it. So again, not something I can share unless I know people have read the book. But her character from history, the person whose name I kind of took, is recorded as dying. So how do I make that work? It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. See, I was with you, and I didn't even know that you'd pulled her name from that list.
Yeah. Took a picture of it on the wall.
Yeah.
And said, this is who I want to write about. So yeah. Some people are saying, I was worried if she was going to die. We really messed with people's heads in these books, Sean.
No, we totally did. You just have to know that if it has proper romance on the top, we're not allowed to have it be like
Exactly. Over on Instagram, someone's asking why Lily and Armitage don't get back to 1873 in this book. Because it's part of what drives this series, is knowing that when people are pulled through time, they can't control where they go. So it leaves that question, that wonder, that what happens to people who go through time. And if you can't control when you go, it takes away some of their options, but not some of their possibilities. And so it just leaves things very open-ended, which I definitely wanted to do. So fun. All right, we're gonna play a game, because that's what we do at Book Club of Book Clubs. We play games, and Sean loved when we played games on the Between the Lines podcast. So
Yes,
Just making her play more.
this is just a testament to our friendship that I was willing to come on here knowing that you were going to throw a game at me.
I know, I did warn her. She still showed up, guys. Okay, we are going to play a version of Would You Rather, but this one is Would Your Character Rather?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask a question about our characters. I'm going to pull out of my little teacup of possible questions and ask them about a character. Play along with us in the comments. Put your guesses, what you think we will say in answer to these questions. During this game, I'm going to pick someone at random to win a prize. And tomorrow we will pull at random someone who played along to win another prize. So I'll tell you what those are as we get to them, but let's get started. Okay, how about, let's do one for Sean's heroine. How's that for Isla?
Isla Crawford. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
For Isla. Okay. Assuming it wouldn't cause any kind of problems, would she rather, in her time travel, have electricity or indoor plumbing?
Ooh.
So in her trip back to the 1600s, assuming it caused no problems, she won't get burned at the stake as a witch.
Yes.
It can somehow magically all be worked out.
Just be in her own little bedchamber.
Exactly. Would she rather have electricity or indoor plumbing? Put your guesses in the comments. We'll draw someone to win a prize.
And you want me to answer this?
Yes. Let's hear what Sean thinks her character would.
I actually think that this would be really hard for her to choose because I think she missed them both. Because in the book, she talks about the fact that she doesn't know how to light a fire, and you know because this was when they were still using flint. They didn't even have matches or anything. So, I don't know. I think that since this was going into winter, I'm going to say she would like the electricity. I think she'd like to have light and heat.
And heat. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of the guesses were for plumbing.
Because that's how most of us would be.
That's exactly what I'm getting from the comments. Is basically all of us would be like plumbing.
Yes. I just know what it's like to live in England in the winter, and I'm not sure how I would do without some, because the days
I was
are
literally
really,
just
really
going
short.
to say
The days are really, really short, and it's so cold.
Yeah, I would have for sure said plumbing until I spent 2.5 to 3 weeks in England in old drafty houses and castles in winter. And even with the fires going, it was so cold and it got dark so early that now that's a really hard to call.
Yeah, it was, when I was going to school ended at 3:30 and we'd get the bus. So I would get home by 4. And by the time I got home, it was dark.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I'd been over there in mid-December. So in fact, at the winter solstice. So the shortest day of the year. And it's dark by 4. It was wild.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay. I'm going to skim back through some comments and pick a winner for to win a copy of Time Traveler's Masquerade. Ooh, since that's something I just answered a question about. Okay. Let's see. Skim, skim, skim. All right. And the winner for this one comes from Instagram. And it is going to Amanda K 007.
Nice.
So,
yay, Amanda.
We will put a post up tomorrow that we'll just collaborate on so you can see it on both of our pages with a list of all the winners and how to contact us to get your prizes. But there you go.
That sounds great.
Okay. One more question for this round of Would Your Character Rather? And let's do this one for my hero. How about that?
Okay.
So my hero, Armitage Pierce. Okay. Would he rather be in history books for something terrible or be forgotten completely after he dies?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Yeah. Especially when you have to define terrible, because technically Lily ends up in history books for treason and betrayal and being a criminal and all of that. So technically she's in there for something terrible, but it isn't actually. So you kind of have to define that.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what everyone else is thinking in the comments. See if they're agreeing with. Okay, they're all agreeing with me. Armitage is such a quiet person, so content with just living out his life in the, his lighthouse with his dad, just kind of doing what he's got to do. I think he has no aspirations to any kind of fame. So, yeah.
I would agree. That's what I would choose too.
Me too. I think even if it was being in the history books for something incredible or being forgotten, I might prefer to just be forgotten.
I agree. He might just not want to be known, period. Yeah.
Exactly. I think he just loves that he has this quiet life and gets to do what he wants to do. Okay. We will pick at random someone who played along in this round of Would Your Character Rather, and they will win a copy of The Tides of Time and the bonus booklet. This bonus booklet has a chapter written from the perspective of the bad guy in this book. So it's pretty fun. All right. Okay. I don't know how many of you remember, but again, back during the pandemic, I used to do every once in a while a game night where I'd invite someone on or several someones and we'd play a game online. It was a way to, again, connect and interact during a time when we were all fairly isolated. Haven't done them in a while, but one of my favorite things from that was commercials. I used to make a commercial to play in the middle of game night. I've made a commercial that we're going to play to break up our
in your copious spare time.
I know, in all the free time that I have. I mean, what else am I going to do? Sleep? Like, come on. It's not how this works at all. So here we go. Time for a quick commercial break.
Your lines, set your clock back on your own time. If you sail with me, we will find the sea. We will find our love over again.
Yay!
There you go, guys. So in case you haven't heard, there are a group of 5 of us who are 5 authors who are all part of a cruise that's coming up. It's called The Readership, which I think is just lovely and brilliant. It's a cruise for readers and for writers. Sean and I are both part of it. So is Tracy Hunter Abramson, Esther Hatch, and Julianne Donaldson. It takes off next January. We're going to go warm up because all of us will be freezing by the time this happens. So many fun events taking part. As part of it, there's going to be book clubs and book exchanges, and I believe there's a tea party, and there's a trivia game and fun prizes and fun swag, plus authors you get to hang out with, and we're having writer-related events for those who are coming who are writers. So you can go to bit.ly/thereadership and get more information there. You can also find lots of information on any of our social medias. It's going to be so much fun. Registration is currently open. So join us. It's going to be really fun. Really, really fun. Awesome. All right. Guys, commercials are back.
That's fantastic. I love it.
All right. Before we do our second round of Would You Rather, we're going to do a quick sneak peek at the next time travel books that we have coming up. Both of us have our next ones in the lineup, so we can share with you a little peek at those. So Sean, why don't you give us a little peek at your next time travel romance?
All right. Okay. This is what it looks like. Some of you might, let's see, I've got to get this camera thing right. There we go. The Maid of Sherwood Forest. So this is, again, McCreevy's costume shop, where the heroine is going to go into the costume shop and put on a medieval outfit, come out, and she finds herself in Nottingham Castle at the time of Robin Hood. So
fun.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that I've gone from the book that has already come out is something in British history that not very many Americans know. And now this is Robin Hood almost everybody knows. And let's face it, can I really make a Robin Hood any better than Disney's Fox? I don't think so.
No.
But I have tried. I may fail terribly.
Aim for it.
Aim for the
See
Fox.
where you
That's
land.
what we're doing.
Oh man. Well, and how fun too to be writing about going back in time to Robin Hood, which in many ways is fictionalized, and yet
Yes.
the challenge of making that like she's gone through real time travel.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
guys, it's gonna be fun.
oh.
All right. I have my next one that's coming up too. It's coming in September. Here I have an arc I can show you. It's called Echoes of the Sea. Ooh. So again, same universe, same magic system, same way they time travel is over the ocean, but it's two different people. I'm going to read to you what's written on the back of this arc because then I don't have to make it up. All right.
I made that up once.
Yeah, exactly. I made up the whole book. Why should I have to make up the pitch? Come on, guys. All right. So this is a modern day London actor is hurled back to 1803, where a love that defies the centuries awaits. Ooh. When actor Kipling Somerville is swept 200 years back in time, he meets Miss Amelia Archibald, bound by her grandfather's will to stay on England's Guilford Island or lose her inheritance. As Kip and Amelia work to secure her future, Kip realizes the truth of his situation and their growing bond, a love destined to endure no matter where time takes them. Ooh.
There we go.
So this time I'm going modern day back to the Regency era. Our modern day, it's a guy who gets swept through time this time, which is a little bit different. Yes. He has, look, I'm making it up anyway. Because I have to talk about stories. He has been starring in a very Bridgerton-esque television program, and has to rely on his very unreliable understanding of history from that TV show to try and survive in the actual past. It's a great deal of fun. And for reasons that are explained in the book, he doesn't realize for a long time that he's actually gone back in history. He thinks it's an acting job. So a lot of weirdness ensues. It's a lot of fun.
I'm actually going to insert something here that Sarah probably doesn't know I'm going to say. But I was with Sarah when she was writing this book, and I am just here to tell you that she would completely out of the blue burst into laughter in the middle of writing. That's how funny it is. And you know that if Sarah's laughing as she's writing, we're going to love it.
It was a lot of fun. And I wrote it while we were doing our first round of filming for the Seeking Persephone movie. So I was hanging out with a lot of actors, taking a lot of notes. Yeah. So my apologies to the cast of.
Well, hopefully they'll make it into the acknowledgments.
I think they will appreciate it. I actually, in my dedication, see if that made it into the arc or not. Yeah, I dedicated it. It says to the film industry for crushing actors' dreams and thus giving me a great foundation for this story.
Perfect. Yay.
Yay. Oh man, people are asking if our characters from our previous books make an appearance in our upcoming books. Do they in yours, Sean?
The only person who does, and she will consistently do so in each book, is Mrs. McQuivey, because she is the one who has the new characters put on their costume or their new era clothing. Right. But the other characters will not. And I noticed another comment a little earlier too about that they wish that they knew more about the nephews and about Martha from this book. And they won't be in future books, but I don't know if you noticed at the end of this book that Mrs. McQuivey left the Wendy costume at the Houses of Parliament, and that was done so that Martha would know where they had gone. So they know. She may not see him again, but she knows. But
they know. I love it. In my books, you will either see or at least hear about characters from previous books. So keep an eye out. There are plenty of Easter eggs and mentions, even if they aren't the same group of characters. So how's that for a little bit of a sneaky way of saying, just read the book?
Yeah. Yes. We can't tell you everything.
Exactly. All right, fabulous. Okay, we're going to play one more round of Would You Rather. This time I'm going to do a Would You Rather for each of us. So we have to answer it for ourselves.
Okay.
And again, I want you guys in the comments to guess what you think we're going to answer, and then we'll give our answer. We'll start with me because we started with Sean last time.
Perfect.
Here's a question for me. Okay, would I rather never eat Christmas cookies ever again or never have Halloween candy ever again? Okay, what do you guys think? Maybe a second to put it in the comments. I know what my answer is already. Sean and me have a good guess.
I think I know what your answer is too.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, we're getting a ton of guesses, and they're all basically the same.
Yes. But are they right? Because the plumbing wasn't right.
Exactly. Okay, Sean, what do you think?
I
think names up. There we go. What do you think my answer is going to be?
That you would much rather give up Halloween candy than Christmas cookies because you do not like chocolate very much.
Yeah, exactly. Most Halloween candy is chocolate, and what isn't is kind of gross.
Yeah.
And I do love to bake.
And you're a baker.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I'm a baker. So yeah, definitely the Halloween candy.
Yeah.
So many people guessed that. So apparently I'm not much of a mystery.
I would be the same way. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and in a great bit of fate, I guess, the prize I have to give away to someone who randomly answered that question is a copy of the Whiskey Cookbook. It's
that's so good.
Recipes connected to the various proper romance books. So that was a great one. So I'm going to pick someone at random who played along in that round, who will win that. And again, we'll post tomorrow and tell you how to claim your prize. Okay, it's going to be this comment comes from YouTube, Andrea Nordic. So you have just won that cookbook. Again, watch our social media tomorrow, and we will post how you can claim your prize. But congratulations, Andrea. Okay, one more question. This one's for Sean.
Okay.
I'm going to draw you from my list. Let's see. Okay. Sean, would you rather spend a week at the International Space Station or a week in a hotel at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh, I would hate them both.
I was just thinking as I was reading it, I'm so glad I didn't draw this one for me because I don't think I'd enjoy it.
It's terrible.
Oh, I'm really sorry, Sean. You literally have to choose one. Which one would it be?
Choose one. Oh, well, they're basically the same, right? You have to go in some teeny weeny little pod up or some teeny little pod down.
Exactly.
And then you can't
escape.
Around. So they're
Very
basically
close. With the constant feeling of impending doom.
Yes, exactly.
What more could you want?
I'd pass. Hard pass on both of them. Oh goodness, I really don't know which of those I would pick. I'm
watching the comments, and they are split.
They are split.
So there's no consensus in the comments.
I think either way, you would have to probably knock me out and take me there unconscious.
Would you rather spend a week unconscious at the International Space Station?
So maybe the thing is, which one is easiest to get back from? And I'm thinking maybe the ocean one would be easier to get back from. So maybe I'll go with that one.
Okay, I literally thought that you feel like you're getting in less danger as you come up out of the ocean, but somehow in more danger as you're passing through the atmosphere. So I think I would also choose the ocean.
I don't want to be incinerated, so I think I'll just go with that.
And this just proves our comment at the beginning that maybe we're not risk takers. We're just willing to
No.
try new books.
No, we could list all of our paranoias, and most of them come into space stations or oceans.
Exactly. That checks all the wrong boxes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man. All right, we will pick at random from everyone who played along with that round, and we'll post it tomorrow. Someone's going to win a copy of The Best Kept Secrets. This is
Ooh,
my
look how
release. It does
pretty
not
that
come out
is.
for a month, guys. So, don't you love the
Nice.
foil on it?
Yes.
The
it's
first
just
editions
shining.
of the Huntress's books are so beautiful. Anyway,
Mhm.
so someone will win that. Someone chosen at random. Again, it'll get posted tomorrow.
Perfect.
And I'm going to let you know what our prizes are. We're going to pick two someones from amongst all the comments that were made on this stream, and they will each win a prize. One person will win an arc of Echoes of the Sea, so my next one that comes out in September, and one person will win an arc of The Maid of Sherwood Forest. When does that one come out, Sean?
That one doesn't come out till November, so it's not for a
Okay.
long time.
So yeah, you guys will get early copies of those. So woohoo! So keep commenting. We are going to go through all of these tomorrow and draw winners. And what that brings us to is a Q&A. This is a really fun part of Book Club of Book Clubs. Here's a chance for you guys to just ask questions about these books, about writing, about us, anything that pops into your mind. We won't get to all of them, but as I see them pass by, I'll snatch some up and answer them. So who has a question for Sean or I? I'm going to give you a sec. Sometimes it takes a second for it to catch up because the comments go slow, but here we go. All right. Lots of people who are excited at the possibility of winning an arc. So yay.
Yeah.
Very, very fun. Cindy's asking, how do we keep the characters and the different timelines and all of that straight while we're writing? I'm assuming writing time travel, but also just writing maybe interconnected series. I often think of your series with Tracy, your Falcon Point series. Is that challenging to try to keep all of your characters straight when there are two of you writing multiple characters?
That one really isn't too bad because, yeah, you're right. We both have a hero and a heroine, so we have so there's 4 altogether. But we've written together long enough now that we know each other's characters really well, which has become a really fun dynamic because when we're planning out the different scenes that we need to write, sometimes, in general, we alternate, but sometimes we'll get to a scene and say, no, this one should be in this character's perspective because it would be better coming from him. And because we both know each other's characters so well, we're almost 100% of the time in agreement with that. In fact, I can't think of a time that we haven't been. So that one, it should be more confusing than it is, but it really hasn't been. So
I love that.
Yeah,
no, I love that. It can be very confusing to keep track of characters and timelines and stuff, especially through a series, but I can only imagine it could be even more so if you're writing with more than one person, but you and Tracy work so well together that.
Well, and I think with your series, if you look at the ones that are so interconnected, your Jonquils and your Gents, and I think that the challenge there is you've got so many characters, and you're so amazing with the way you have your spreadsheets and your books, because you literally know how old they are and when they entered each book and what each role is. And I think the fact that you keep such good notes probably is your saving grace because you have so many characters.
Yeah, I think it would be impossible to keep track of as many if I didn't. Even if it was all I wrote was that series, I still don't think I could keep track of it.
Right.
But it isn't, so that makes it even more ridiculous, to quote one of my favorite characters. I have realized of late how much I say that word, and so now I'm realizing why
it popped up.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's a question. This one will be for me. It's looking like, are we going to learn about the French captain? How did Lily's brother recognize him? You will learn more about him as the series goes on. So keep your eyes peeled.
Nice.
Oh, I saw one I know it was for Sean. Okay, I don't know where it went, but she was basically asking, what was your inspiration for using a costume shop for your time travel magic system?
Oh, this is kind of a funny story. So, Heidi Gordon, who is project manager at Shadow Mountain, approached me about the possibility of doing a time slip because she wanted Sarah and I to open up this subgenre. And at the time, I was really taken aback, and I just thought, wow, because I've written in a lot of different genres, but I've never done fantasy. And I thought, this is going to be pushing me a little bit into the fantasy because it does have to have that magic system. So I took a few days to think about it. And one of the big things as I was thinking through time slip was, okay, what are the biggest challenges with writing a character who goes from one time period to the other? And my first thought was, well, they arrive somewhere and they're completely displaced. That, they look different, they sound different, everything is different. So then my next thought was, how can I get around them looking different? And that was how I came up with the costume shop. And the idea actually came to me in bed. And I woke up my husband. I was like, I've got an idea. I've got an idea. And I woke him up and I said, okay, would this work? Would this work to have my character go into a costume shop, try on the costume, come out and be there? And he goes, yeah, that would work. And then he rolled over and went back to sleep. So,
our poor husbands.
I still lay there thinking, okay, now can I get this to work? So the next day I called my editor and I called Heidi and I said, okay, what do you think? And they said, do it. Let's try it. And so that was how that started.
I love it. Yeah, so many of the interesting ideas we have as authors, I think, come because we have written ourselves into a corner, or we're trying something that doesn't actually work. And so we have to really think about how to fix it.
Outside the box. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
We had a question in here, and I think it's a great one because this was just announced. Someone is asking when the next Falcon Point book is coming out. And I know a couple of Falcon Point titles, at least, were very recently announced. So can you tell us what that is? And I think you have a release month, right?
So Amanda, who writes as A.L. Soward, she's the one who is doing the historical series that's based on the Heirs of Falcon Point. And her second book, which is Ingrid's story, I believe comes out in July. I think that's when that is slated. It's June, July, I think.
Right, it's sometime this summer.
And then she will have one more, which will be Anna's story. And Tracy and I have one more in the romantic suspense contemporary series. And both of those books, they just had the title reveals. And they will both be out in 2026. And I think Amanda's comes out in the spring and ours will come out in the summer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I saw that pop up and I thought, oh, Sean can actually answer that question.
That's like, yeah.
Jump on it. So one question I got was if the hero of this book, who's a modern day actor, was based at all on Jake Stormone, who's the lead of the City for Somebody movie. I will have to say no, because this actor can't get any work, and I don't wish that on Jake. So I will say some of the conversations I had with him and with Toby Alexander Smith, who plays Harry in the movie, some of the conversations we had about challenges in the film and television industry and the challenges of a creative career and all that, some of those thoughts and impressions and perspectives kind of made it in. But no, this main character is not based on anyone I actually work with. So FYI, just got to throw that out there.
Yeah, you need to do that disclaimer right off the bat.
To cover things, guys. Okay. We had another question. How many books do we each have releasing this year?
Actually, I only have 2 this year. So the one that just came out, Time Time Traveler's Masquerade, and then The Mermaid of Sherwood Forest. So just the two.
November.
Mhm.
And I just announced yesterday that I'll have a release in November as well. So we'll be release buddies for that month. It's the next of the Gents books. And that is 4 for me this year. There's a possibility there's another one that'll make it in there, but 4 is what I was looking at the moment. So look at us.
Are amazing. And you still have time to make commercials.
Well, I'm just padding my resume for when this inevitably falls apart. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to skim through and see what else.
Oh, there are so many questions. I'm sorry we can't get to all of them.
So Holly over on Instagram is saying that A.L. Soward's next book is July 15th. So
I
watch for that.
Yeah.
Okay, you thought it was probably June or July. Here's a good question from Alyssa on YouTube. What is a time period you haven't written about that you want to write about? Do you have one, Sean?
Well, I feel like I have touched a lot of time periods. I actually counted recently, and I think I have set a book in 9 different centuries, which is a little bit crazy. Wow. Because every time you do that, you have to research from scratch again. Now, admittedly, the medieval time period, there was a big span of time when not much changed, but other periods changed dramatically. So I don't know really if there is a time period that I haven't written in. If someone had asked me this question a year ago, I would have said the early 17th century, because I've been wanting to write that Guy Fawkes story for a long time, but I can't think of one off the top of my head just because I feel like I've covered so many already.
Right.
What about you?
I have a book that I started ages ago and haven't finished because it's been a little more of a challenge than I thought, that's set in the 19-teens, which has been very interesting. That feels very modern to me, which is kind of dumb because it's over a century ago. Exactly. The book I'm currently working on is the very early 1700s, which is a little more of a stretch. I have a story idea that would be in the 17th century that I haven't written yet because I haven't done enough research. So yeah, there's lots of story seeds in different time periods. So it kind of depends on which one blossoms first or which one I can research the best. But yeah, time periods are just so interesting. Which actually I have a question here from Sarah P on YouTube. She's asking, how did we each choose the time periods to write in for our time travel books? Mine was, again, being in La Conciergerie, I'd wanted to write in the French Revolution, but I also wanted to do a time travel. And I wanted to keep, for this first book, I wanted both of our time periods to be historical. So I didn't want her to jump into modern times or into a time that even felt modern to the reader, but I wanted it to feel very unfamiliar to her. So bringing her ahead 80 years, especially through the Industrial Revolution, through the Victorian era, was enough to change so many things that she felt like a fish out of water, but it still felt very old to the reader. So that's really what did it. I knew the time period I wanted her to come from, and then I had to pick one for her to go to that fit kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
What about you, Sean?
Well, like I said, I've been wanting to write the Guy Fawkes story for a long time. People who have read my stories know that very often I try to find something that really happened in history, a real event that maybe not many people know about. And I use that as the basis for my story so that hopefully by the time people have finished, an enjoyable work of fiction, they've also learned something too. And I think that I just felt like Guy Fawkes Night, which is celebrated on November 5th, is something that most Americans don't know anything about, but it's really big in the UK. And I thought this might be my opportunity to share that little bit of history with readers who are unfamiliar with it. And one of the funny things is some of you may know that our marketing manager at Shadow Mountain is from England. And apparently she told me that when this went through the committee and she heard that I was writing about Guy Fawkes, she was like, yes. And she said half the other people were there. Who's
They're
that?
like,
Why are
who's
you
that?
so it's, that was fun for me to be able to do that.
I love that. I love it. Okay. Let's see. We've got some more questions. They just keep coming. So here's a question over on Instagram. Sarah, will you continue this series when you're finished with the Gents and the Huntresses? My hope at the moment, and there's a lot of upheaval on the publisher side of things right now. Sean and I are just going to both kind of go, mm-hmm. So I don't know what the publishing landscape will look like in a couple of years in terms of all this. So my hope is to be able to do the next generation of Jonquils and Lancasters once I've wrapped the Huntresses and the Gents. That is my hope. What will actually end up happening in the end, I don't know, because there's a lot that's up in the air right now and totally out of our control. So we'll see. That's my hope. That's my plan. We'll see what happens after that. See, I saw one for Sean I was going to pull up. Oh, okay. Here you go. So here's a question that was on Facebook. She says, I just read A Kingdom to Claim and The Call of the Sea. I have been fascinated with the history of Vikings. Were those based on history in that part of the world?
Yes. Yes. Both of those they actually happened. And so the hero and heroine in both of those books are fictional. But the people that they interacted with, King Alfred the Great, of course, and his whole story, the battles that they fought, his interaction with the Vikings, the names of the Viking leaders, that was all historical. And in Call of the Sea, it was the same with the Welsh royalty there and the Vikings coming over from Dublin. So yeah, that was all. I tried to stick as closely as I could to what really happened, including in Call of the Sea, including the fact that there was the rift between the king and his brother. So
right. I love it. It's one thing I love about reading historical fiction when it comes from someone I know, that it's important for them to include the actual history. You recognize in fiction there has to be some fictionalization, but you still feel like you get a good feel for history and things that have actually happened. I love it. So as a follow-up, someone asked, would you ever consider writing more Viking stories?
Yes, but I will say they are extremely difficult to write. And the main reason why they're so difficult to write is because this is an era most people could write. And so it's very difficult to do the research. There's just not a lot there. So there were a few things that I really struggled to find. One of the things that I really struggled to find was what kind of money they used, because it's not written down anywhere. I don't know how Sarah gets around these things, but one of the things when I'm writing a book that is set so far back that I can't find a definitive answer, I have to come with a workaround. And so what I did for that was, instead of making it up and then getting it wrong, I had my characters barter. They took goods to the market and bartered so that we didn't have to deal with money. Yeah. And in retrospect, it's probably more realistic. That's probably is what they did. But sometimes the research is really hard. And because I really do like to have something that actually happened as the backbone of my story, I just need to find that before I can start another one.
Love it. Yeah, I feel like one of the questions we get a lot as writers is, where do you find your ideas? And I found it's not coming up with ideas that's the problem. It's coming up with ideas that, one, I can actually research, or I can actually write, or there's enough to it that I can build a story around it. So that can be challenging. Okay, so a question I got here, that actually is a combo because a lot of these have to do with each other, was the island that the lighthouse is on in the Tides of Time inspired by an actual island in the English Channel? was the dialect that they spoke there authentic, and was the lighthouse based on a real lighthouse? So that's a few different questions, but they all relate. The lighthouse island, so Lofton Island, is fictional, but it's based on a lot of islands kind of there along the southern coast. I made it up so that I could do whatever I wanted with it, but it's very much steeped in the islands you would find there. The dialect is authentic to the time period, although I dialed it way back so that it would be easier to understand. I have a book that is just dialect from that very specific portion of that county at that time, which was very fascinating to read. And it included written oral histories where they literally had just written down word for word people telling stories in the era, so I could get a feel for their dialect. So fascinating, so interesting. If I'd done it 100% accurate, you would have a hard time reading it. So I just include a few sprinkles of it. So that is there. The lighthouse itself is based on a lighthouse that I researched, which actually is further north in England, but it's from the right era and the right time period, and researched about, because this particular lighthouse in this book is a dual light. There's a light up on the cliff and there's a light down at the beach. And that was called the lower light, was the one on the beach. And lower lights had to be moved over time as the shoreline changed. So I got to research that too. So while I made up this island and this lighthouse, it's all based in actual things from that era and that area. So fantastic. Okay, let's see what other questions we have coming in here. Okay, so here's a question off of Instagram. Will either of us ever set anything in the future? So going like very sci-fi or fantasy.
I don't think I will.
That's not on my list either.
I think that does border too much on sci-fi for me.
Yeah.
I think this is just about as much fantasy as I can handle, and I don't think I can go too much further.
Too much further, right? I'll read it. I'll watch movies. I'll watch TV shows about it, but probably not on my list of things I would write.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question. Will we go back to Hope Springs? This one will be for me. Hope Springs is one of my series. Yes, I'm currently in the editing stage of Finbar's book in the Hope Springs series. That'll be book 8. I think 8 in that series. Right now, it's penciled in to release early next year. So keep your eyes out for that. Okay, let's see. We only have a few minutes left. Let me see what else I can find that we can answer. Here's a question from Ashley over on Facebook. How much time do you spend writing each day? I'm guessing this is on average because at least for me, no one day looks the same as the other, but ish.
Ish. Yeah, it depends a lot on where I am in the writing process.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm in the research zone, then no writing occurs because I'm just researching the whole time. Same if I'm editing, then no writing, I'm just editing. But if I'm in the drafting stage, then it's a lot of time, especially if there's a deadline. I would say that, and I know that this is true for Sarah, but I would say that this is more than a 40-hour week job. We're usually writing or working on our project 6 days a week, and we work into the evening a lot. So
yeah, easily. Especially because as you become a career author, you're not just writing, you're also essentially running the business of writing. So you're doing marketing and you're doing accounting and you're doing business meetings and you're reading contracts. And there's so much that goes into it that, yeah, the hours just add up over and over and over. Yeah. In fact, just the other day I was telling my husband, I'm not sure my brain is still functioning. There's been so much going on, non-writing stuff going on, but that nevertheless impacts writing, that I just feel like my brain has turned to absolute mush, but it's still, we keep going.
No, and I told my husband recently that I feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole.
Yes.
It's like you get an email that you have to deal with, and then as soon as you've dealt with that, then another one comes up and another one. And so especially, I mean, I'm not even sure how Sarah's doing it, but when you have multiple books at different stages of development, you're doing a copy edit on one, and then you go back to drafting, and then you have to do an edit, and then you have to do a backliner, and then you've got all the marketing stuff, like Sarah said. So it's a lot, but
it is. And it all calls on different aspects of your brain. Like the drafting part is very creative, editing tends to be very methodical, and the marketing part of it is totally different, and having business meetings is just, so yeah, your brain gets pulled in a lot of directions at once, and there's a lot of things that impact that are out of our control, and so that also adds a whole nother aspect to it. So yeah. So we're both very tired. That's basically what it comes down to. Oh my gosh. All right. So one last question, but I'm going to ask this one before we wrap up here. Sean, what are you working on right now?
Right now? Well, just this week, I guess it was actually the end of last week, I finished a manuscript. So I actually have, that out to a couple of beta readers right now. And while I am waiting to hear back from them to see if I need to do very much tweaking to that manuscript before I submit it, I am starting to look at researching my next time slip book.
Fabulous. I just earlier this month finished up another screenplay that's currently with some people, fingers crossed. And I'm currently drafting my next time slip. So look at us.
Because I haven't got the research done yet.
Oh, man. So yeah, always something going on. Well, this was loads of fun. Thank you for joining in, Sean. And to everyone who asked questions and joined in, we hope you loved these books. We hope you are as excited as we are for this new time slip genre that's starting up over at Proper Romance. I'm hopeful other authors are going to jump in as well and start doing some time travel, because I love it. They're fun to read, especially if I didn't have to write them. So get on it, guys. Fantastic. So yes, go ahead and leave your comments. If you're joining in the live stream later, you're coming and watching on replay, please put your comments in there. We will draw tomorrow winners for those prizes that weren't announced during this stream. We will post to our social media who those winners are and how you can claim them. Thanks again for joining in, for enjoying these books, and we'll see you on a future live stream. Thanks, guys.
Yay. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.